Every spring, I remember the things I have read Buddhist scriptures and listened to monks preach, or sometimes had face-to-face conversations with monks, which I felt was respectful. Knowing a lot, understanding widely about the sublime truth of the world-honored one, asking for answers to your shallow understanding, that is learning that is easy to remember, easy to understand, and from there the spirit becomes clear and serene. The cause of human suffering is greed, anger, and ignorance, a large part of which is also created by the external environment, which causes people to have a mind that always wants to rise above everyone else with material things and fame. Because of materialism and fame, greed, ignorance, and anger cannot be eliminated. In fact, when people are born, they are pure, without any stains in their souls. Confucius said, "The first element of humanity is the nature of goodness, or, near ink, it is black, near lamp, it is bright." That's right, if we are close to good people, we will become good people, if we stay close to good people, we will become good people. Being close to bad people, we will become bad people. Therefore, I want to mention the inner and outer environment. All external things belong to a person. If that person is born and raised in a good family, and have knowledge, when they grow up they will change the external environment to depend on themselves. So at that time people are the master, and the environment is their friend. People often say, time creates heroes. Circumstances push people to become heroes. Some people also say, heroes create times, meaning heroes, talented people create glorious careers in life. Which of these two sentences is correct? He said, there are people who used to be ordinary people, without talent, but thanks to good opportunities, they become outstanding people, thus, time creates heroes. The person citing the evidence is, although King Quang Trung was a man in the countryside. He was extremely talented, so from a man in the countryside, he became a good general and such an intelligent king. Isn't he a hero who creates times? In my opinion, all of the above successful people are heroes who create times. Why so? Because if the times change and we are incompetent, mindless people with cruel hearts, we only know how to harm others and benefit ourselves. Without virtue, we cannot reform the situation, so they are just ordinary people like everyone else. On the contrary, even if times change hundreds of thousands of times, for talented people who take morality as their guideline, whether facing favorable or unfavorable circumstances, they will still be brave and stand up to reform society, doing great things, because they are people with virtue and intelligence, created by the origin of their being. If we know how to uphold virtue as the top priority, we must study, research, and learn about Buddhist philosophy, preached by the great monks, depending on the means to save the world according to the truth of the Buddha. Who preaches the Dharma, preaches the doctrine or narrates or points out the law, sometimes speaking at a distance, sometimes speaking near, sometimes speaking in secret, using all kinds of ways to bring the light of the Golden Tao to educate humanity and clarify the precious meaning of the path. Practice and study, in order to create for people a complete ego. Unity among humanity and an intelligent mind, promoting charity, love and science to serve sentient beings. Dear readers, please read aloud a passage of the Dhammapada with me. Dhammapada, in which the Buddha read it out to the people of the Shakyamuni and Kalai tribes after he prevented a war of mutual slaughter between the two above-mentioned tribes as follows. 1. Happiness is for us to live without hatred. Among those who hate, we live without hatred. 2. Happy are we who live healthily, among sick people, we live healthily. 3. Happy are we who live without desire, among those who are greedy, we live without desire. 4. How happy we are to live without attachment, to live peacefully, like those in the Avalokiteshvara heaven. 5. Victory brings hatred, defeat brings suffering. Don't think about victory, we will live in peace and happiness. If we can read and recite the above sutra passage with a sincere mind, we will live in accordance with the teachings of the world-honored one and together serve the goal that we always earnestly and desire. In addition, we also ask you to join me in learning about the Three Jewels theory of Buddha Shakyamuni. 1. All actions are impermanent. 2. All dharmas are selfless. 3. Nirvana salvation. Point 1, all actions are impermanent means that everything in this world is constantly changing, which is the basic outline of Buddha Dharma. Point 2, all dharmas are selfless means that all dharmas, whether conditioned or unconditioned, have no reality, that is, there is no self or I in them. Although the dharma of existence has an effect but does not have a permanent residence, the dharma of non-action has a permanent residence but has no effect. Point 3, achieving nirvana is the ultimate goal of Buddhism. Collectively, the above 3 points are called 3 Dharma teachings. On the other hand, let's read and learn together the following 10 thoughts of the world-honored one. To use them as a guideline for our life of study. 1. When you think about your body, don't pray for it to be free of illness and suffering, because without illness and suffering, desires can easily arise. 2. Don't pray for no trouble in life, because without trouble, pride will arise. 3. If you consider your mind, don't seek to have no problems, because without problems, your learning will not be thorough. 4. When building morality, don't pray to be free from evil obstacles, because without evil obstacles, your aspirations will not be strong. 5. Don't expect things to be easy to accomplish, because things that are easy to accomplish bring contempt and arrogance. 6. Don't communicate for your own benefit. For your own benefit, you lose your morality. 7. With other people, don't expect everyone to follow your will, because following your will makes you arrogant. 8. Don't ask for anything in return for a favor, because asking for something in return is doing a favor with a scheming intention. 9. If you see benefits, don't get involved, because if you get into it, your delusion will move. 10. There is no need to justify injustice, because to justify it is because oneself has not yet been let go. Therefore the Buddha taught, taking illness and suffering as magic medicine, use hardship as liberation, make problems interesting, take the devil as your friend, enjoy difficulties, take bad people as helpers, use opponents as a place to socialize, consider grace as a pair of discarded sandals, take renunciation as glory, taking injustice as the gateway to virtue. If you accept obstacles, you will be clear, but if you wish for clarity, you will be hindered. The world-honored one performed Bodhi of wisdom and enlightenment so that even in the midst of obstacles such as Yang Quat's assault and Devada's harassment, he could teach and transform them into enlightenment. So isn't it true that opposition becomes advantage and destruction becomes success for us? Nowadays, those who study the Dharma do not first engage themselves in all the obstacles, so when the obstacles come they do not know how to deal with them. Therefore, the supreme Dharma is all lost. How unfortunate and hateful. Uwan Bao Vong Samadhi. Above I just explain a few of my favorite passages that I have learned, read, listened to and asked about to cite specific evidence as a guideline for those who want to eliminate suffering, sadness, greed, and hatred. But still buried deep in the bottom of the heart to get out of the mind so that the heart can be free. If you want to do so, it is not temporary, but you must be patient, persistent, and determined to gradually achieve it. The external environment also makes people gradually awaken and gradually absorb morality through scriptures and listening to the sermons of true practitioners and monks. It is difficult for those who do not have the virtue of patience to be steadfast in their stance on following the path of self-cultivation. If the mind is pure and clear, the body will be healthy and strong, the mind will be clear, and from there, it will be enthusiastic about good deeds. Many people think that patience means having to endure humiliation, but in reality, is patience a humiliation? Patience is a Chinese word, translated into Vietnamese as patience, not patience. Next I mention the fairy tale related to Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara to further clarify the meaning of patience. The story that many people know is Avalokiteshvara T. Kin. T. Kin is a married woman. One day while her husband was sleeping, she saw a beard growing up and took scissors to cut it off. Unfortunately, her husband and his family misunderstood her, thinking that she intended to assassinate him, so she was returned to her biological parents. In the past, rights were very strict, girls lived in a proper family when they had a husband. Being sent back is a great humiliation for the family. Kin is enduring this humiliation. If she was a normal woman who couldn't bear it, she would commit suicide. Kin did not do that. She pretended to be a man and entered the temple to practice. That was the first step of patience. Originally a very beautiful person, when she became a monk at the temple, Kin was noticed by the nuns. Mao is one of those girls, and she is an indecent, unethical girl. She loved Kin, but Kin did not reciprocate, so she felt resentment, so she had an affair with the husband who got her pregnant, then falsely accused Kin of being the author of that fetus. Kin was charged with beating. When being humiliatedly executed, why didn't Kin vindicate herself by saying, "I am a woman pretending to be a man to become a monk," but just remained silent? At that time, there was no Ni pagoda but only Tang pagoda, so Kin had to pretend to be a man to be a monk at the pagoda. If you declare that you are a woman, your sins will be forgiven, but when you return to the temple, you will not be accepted to practice with the Sangha. That was the second case in which Kin persevered to practice, no matter the cost. Before, Kin endured the humiliation of life to become a monk. Now I have to endure all the painful and humiliating punishments, waiting for my release so I can return to the temple to practice, so I must be patient in my practice. Let's ask, are these 2 rings easy to make or difficult? If it were us, no one would be able to bear it. But the 3rd time it was perfect. After being beaten, the reputation is not good. Kin was suspected by the pagoda. Not allowed to stay in the pagoda but allowed to stay on the porch. Now Mao gives birth and leaves her child in front of the temple porch. If there is no biological relationship, then the child will cry and ignore it, so why should I care about it? But when Kin saw the innocent baby being abandoned, she immediately took him in and raised him. Now if you want to be acquitted, you just have to not admit that you don't look at the child and you will be exonerated. But when he saw the abandoned baby and was anxious to take care of it, who would believe that Kin was innocent? The Venerable himself also had doubts. Why did Kin do that? For compassion. It is better to save a life where you are suffering, than to sit still and let others suffer. Raising a baby is not easy. He had bad public opinion, and had no means of nourishment, no money, no milk, no food. He had to go to the village to beg, and everywhere he went he was despised and slandered. Yet Kin took it for granted that whoever cursed him would curse, whoever despised him would despise him, and still do what should be done. How great is that merit, how great is compassion, and is patience lacking, because of that wonderful virtue of patience. Compassion is perfect. When patience and compassion are perfect, Buddhahood is near. Now Kin is revered as Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. Therefore, all those who develop the mind to practice must learn to be patient. If a person says a word that is serious and responds with a word that is twice as serious, then they are not people with a mind to practice. To be patient does not mean to endure, but to use wisdom to see the truth, to let go of everything that is wrong with others, not to be stubborn and resentful. If people curse at you, you don't accept that as letting go. If you are scolded and remember one sentence without forgetting it, then giving rise to anger, sorrow, hatred, bringing suffering to yourself and spreading suffering to others, that is not being patient, not cultivating. So I hope and pray for everyone, whether monastic or layperson or Buddhist, Upasaka or Upasaya, if those who know how to go to the temple to worship Buddha or have faith in Buddha, if you are respectful, keep in mind and follow the example of patience I cited above, then your mind will be pure and liberated. I hope so.
Thank you for spending your valuable time on my channel journey to enlightenment. Wishing you a very peaceful and happy day. Don't forget to click like and subscribe to my support channel. See you in the next video.